Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 47 of the Showbound podcast. I'm your host, Michael Raskin, here alongside Ethan Cardwell. And Cards, what's going on, man? How's it going?
Yeah, just another week. Working away.
So much energy here.
Yeah, I know. So much enthusiasm on a long Monday. I just had a long day in the office, workout, skill skate, regular skate. Gonna go treat the body with a little hot tub, maybe hang out with the boys. You know what I've been doing though? We found this new Netflix show called Squid Game.
I've seen it. I haven't watched it yet. Like, I've seen it on my Netflix.
Yeah, so like everyone's been telling me to watch it and stuff, and it's weird, right? Because it's not in English, so they have to sync like the English with the mouth, so it kind
Oh,
of
I
looks
hate those ones. Yeah.
But it's an interesting show. Definitely not for kids to watch, but it's interesting. I'm only on episode 2, so I'll be able to report back next week. I'll watch more and then
Should I check
know.
it out? Is it worth my
Yeah,
time?
I think it's worth checking out. I don't know. I know how much of you're always like concerned about the details and things, so you might not like that lip over, but it is what it's all right. But
Perfectionist.
Barry Colts home opener this week though. You coming up? You making the trip?
What day is it again? I looked at it today.
Maybe you can just hop on Niagara's bus.
I could, man. I may. I'll say probably not. I do want maybe the Hamilton game I was looking at on the Saturday because that's right near me.
Yeah, fair enough. You got your card now too, so you can come to all the games.
Yeah, I'll be at a bunch of games for sure. But I'll hopefully see you guys this week. I got my new setup here, eh? Like you.
Yeah,
I
it looks good.
Yeah. I got behind me for the viewers on YouTube. I got a little puck wall there. I'm actually missing one puck, but this is my career progression in pucks behind me. I'm missing an Ice Dogs puck, which I'm gonna go get at the first Ice Dogs game I go to.
Hey, go in the crowd. I'll flip you on during warm-ups.
Yeah. There we go. Because you guys are playing the Ice Dogs soon.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry to cut you. I'll go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're just gonna be playing them a lot because like the East-West thing with COVID and everything. What were you saying?
Good. But yeah, so our whole Brock team is going to that game as like a team outing. We have an off night, and obviously because Marty's back in town. Like for those who don't know, Marty was our coach at Brock the last 4 years. So we're all going to see Marty and see the boys, the Colts and the Ice Dogs play. So that'll be a fun time. We got a suite, I'm pretty sure, and the beers are going to be going. You know how it is when an older group of guys gets together. So it'll be fun. But yeah, that's what's been up with me. Like just I moved into my new place. I do want to mention because I had a couple like photo memories on my phone. This tournament I used to play in minor hockey. We would go to Montreal every year, my hockey team, and we would just go play in this Canadian Hockey Enterprises tournament. It was like the most fun weekend of the year for me because like, Montreal is just a different beast. You know how it is in Montreal. But we would go. It was so fun, man. We actually won the one year. I was gonna wear my medal on the show because we recently partnered up with Canadian Hockey Enterprises, and I wanted to show off my beautiful gold medal, and I have a silver. But that one I threw away. No, I'm kidding. It's hanging somewhere. But yeah, for those who haven't heard of it, I think most people have. But Canadian Hockey Enterprises, they have adult and youth tournaments, but it's an incredible tournament. Adult locations across all of North America for American listeners too, including Montreal, Nashville, Banff, Las Vegas, and 14 more. Imagine what I went through in these Montreal tournaments, but in Vegas, like that'd be sick. There's post-game beers and parties included for the adult ones, which, man, that would be a good time. Like I might round up the boys, just do something like that, and you get the party included. You don't have to worry about the details. Canadian Hockey Enterprises, where average Joes get to feel like pros. All-inclusive tournaments, including entry and hotel. So again, you don't need to worry about those accommodations. And if you're not an adult, world-class youth hockey tournaments for boys and girls in Montreal, Quebec City, Ottawa, and Banff this season. And again, the Montreal one was the one that I lit up every year, like 15 points per game as a defenseman. And then just
you can only dream. Speaking of a lot of points as a defenseman, though.
Oh, for what a segue. So yeah, our guest this week, we got Ryan Murphy. Offensive defenseman. You're gonna love this interview. He's a guy. He had like 80 points in his 17-year-old year as a defenseman in the O, like insane numbers. But great interview, Cards. Like we haven't really. We'll maybe break it down a little more after, obviously. But one that I'm really excited to get out. It was more of an interesting look because this guy, he's played in the NHL. He's in his 9th year pro. Played a couple years, so it's cool to hear. Oh, we should actually say a little background on him. signed with the Detroit Red Wings now, but a guy, you know, he's played in Russia, been up and down in the NHL, AHL, made the NHL as like an 18-year-old, did a lot of cool things, and we reflect on in his career. He's been through a lot, been bought out, been traded many times. Like, cool interview. We'll kind of wrap it up a little more later, but that's one I'm excited to get out there. And yeah.
Yeah,
What about
it was sick, bro. And I remember because like in the COVID summer, I was skating. I don't know if Murph and I have the same agent or same agency. I think we may. But he was always at our agency skates, or like guys from his gym would come to the skates and stuff too. And we do 3-on-3. And man, this guy's sick. Like, so I saw him like originally. I was like, because he had the KHL gear on, so like I wasn't sure. I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's pretty nasty. And like I was asking around, I asked my agent, I'm like, hey, like this guy's sick. Like who is this? He's like, yeah, Ryan Murphy, like 12th overall. So I look him up. It says D-man. I'm like, what? This guy was just wheeling around the ice, dangling everyone, just doing whatever we wanted with the pill. So like I was like, there's no way this guy's a D. And then sure enough, yeah, he's like, man, some of the best hands I've ever seen in my life, and vision too. Obviously, it's unbelievable out there, and you can only imagine how ramped up it is in 3-on-3 ice surface too. Just even more in tight, just making sick plays. But he's gonna be sick this year in the show too, man. I think like there's no way he's going back to the A.
No, he's coming off of AHL Defenseman of the Year last year with the Henderson Silver Knights. He's sick. It's a feel good story. Would you say that? Like you hear his road and you just want to root for him. Like, is that fair?
Yeah, for sure. And I just feel like it's almost like after you kind of feel like the trials and tribulations he had to go through, bide his time and stuff, and it finally feels like this could be the year where it's like, okay, this is it for Murph. Like he's gonna do it now, you know.
And we don't want to spoil anything, so we'll save it for the interview. We'll talk about it a bit more after. But yeah, I'm excited to get that one out. And actually, I do want to mention, because I forgot, but going back to Canadian Hockey Enterprise, it's just you can check them out at chehockey.com. That's chehockey.com. I got carried away.
Yeah, no, that's on me, man. Like, but I just had to bring it up. You were pumping your own tires about being a Portman D, and it just worked out too perfectly. But yeah, Canadian Hockey Enterprises.
Yeah,
definitely worth a look. And sick locations. Like you were just reading off. I was like, wow, Banff too. That's unbelievable.
That one would be sick. I remember just one thing. I don't want to, and then we can move forward. But the Montreal one was like my grade 12 year when we were all like 18. So we can't drink in Ontario, but in Montreal you can drink. The drinking age in Quebec is 18. So that was like our first big tournament, I guess, with the boys. Like we'd all go, you know, no parents at that point. And it was just like legally drinking, because of course we would never do that, you know, illegally. So it was just a fun time in Montreal. I love that one. I love CHE. I left my gold medal at home in the moving process over to this new place here in the beautiful Niagara Falls. And yeah, actually that's something I did this week, Cards. I sent you a nice pic, but I'm a like 5-minute drive. I'm like a 25-minute walk from the falls. So I took a little walk down, explored the area, sent you a snap.
Yeah, you sent me more than one snap. You sent me about 5 snaps of the falls. I was like, yeah, I get it. I saw the first picture. So I was laughing at that. I was like, what's this guy doing? And you kept saying, yeah, Niagara Falls is better than Barrie. I'm like, well, we don't have Niagara Falls in Barrie, so you're probably right.
I love Barrie too, for the record.
No, but the falls are something special, man. Like
I like it here.
They're pretty cool.
And yeah, I'm enjoying it here. And by the way, I'm not like down in like Clifton Hill and stuff. I'm in like more of a residential neighborhood here. So it's not like I don't know. But anyway, good times here at the fall. I mean, I guess anything we want to talk about like OHL wise, you know, your preseason wrapping up and the regular season about to start. So we want to talk about what's going on with you there.
Yeah, I mean, there's not too much to say really. It's just kind of go time now. Preseason behind us and everything. Everyone's healthy and ready to go into the first game of the season. So everyone's kind of looking forward to that. I know all of my buddies that I've talked to getting back from NHL camps, and I actually want to give Jack Thompson a shout out. Played NHL preseason games this year, and that a former guest of the pod. As we all know what happens to fellas who come on the pod, good things happen, right? So, but no, it's been a good preseason and a good camp, and I think everyone's kind of just excited to actually get things going. I know the league itself and the OHL is very thrilled to be able to put some players back on the ice for some regular season games and some fans in the crowd, which is going to be awesome. Hopefully we're up to 100% by Thursday. And some news around the OHL that I actually wanted to bring up on the podcast is the first women lineswoman in the OHL, as she worked her first game there the other night in the preseason. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. We'll get her on the pod, maybe break it down, and then
yeah, as long as she's making good calls.
I was gonna say, and then get the calls in your favor because she owes you one.
Yeah, exactly.
But for those who do want to hear from Jack Thompson, that episode was episode 10. If you want to go back and listen to him, he's a great guy. I had him on the pod, like Cardsy said, and it's kind of sick that he got to play the preseason games. He's gonna light up the OHL this year too. But speaking of that, how many points are you gonna get this year? You can't answer it. I know you can't say.
I have no idea, man. I'm just gonna go in there every night. Just try to be positive all year. That's my main goal. Is just be positive for myself. Really, I'm gonna just do my best to do that. Keep happy, and good things will happen. So
good things happen because you're on the pod. I'll set a goal for you here because we had Akil Thomas on last week. In Akil's 4th year in the OHL, he had over 100 points. It's your 4th year in the OHL now, so you have to get over 100 points. Hit 100. That's your goal.
Okay. Thank you for setting that goal. We'll revisit that hopefully later in the season, and we'll see. But gonna work on the defensive side of the puck.
Yeah, and then make World Jays. Okay. With that being said, I think let's send it over to Murph now. All right, and now we want to welcome Ryan Murphy to the pod. Murph, how's it going, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
So I want to drop quickly before we get into it how me and Murph met. And Cards, this will be funny for you and for the listeners, but we just met playing Fortnite. I was on the Xbox with some of the buddies of Murph who work out with him, and he just came into a game. By the way, like, he's sick at the game. Like, Murph, can you talk about how much time you spend on video games or what?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been trying to slow it down. I think in the summer, I mean, you go skate, you work out, and I'm home by 1. You got nothing to do, so maybe in the summer I get a little carried away with it. In the season, I don't know, play a few hours a day, a couple hours, and but like I said, I'm trying to cut down. It's a nice way to kill the time, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you keep it up, you might have a pro career after hockey too. So we'll see. But you recently signed with the Detroit Red Wings. Let's talk about that. Like, how are things going over in Detroit? I know you're still in the hotel, right?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, we started off in Traverse City, which is, I guess they've been doing that for years, which is nice. There's a good fan base out there, so we had our practices and fitness, and at the end we did a red and white game. I was sidelined, so I unfortunately missed it, but I've been cleared since then, and I actually just joined a few days ago into camp, and everything's been good. The facilities are honestly unlike any facilities I've seen so far in my career. They are just top notch. There's somebody for everything, whether it's massages, food. There's just so many people there to help you, and it's been a great experience so far. And I hope to put on that Red Wing jersey one day.
All right. So speaking of the Red Wing jersey, you told me this story, but we need to repeat it for the listeners. Can you tell us about your camp number and that whole story?
Yeah. So, I mean, coming when I was trying to make the decision to sign in Detroit, it was kind of a no-brainer. I knew a lot of guys in the organization. I worked out with a guy named Chris Draper, who a lot of people know. And I reached out for my gear, and I wanted to get my gear warmed up and get used to it. So they sent me out some gear, and I unpacked it, and I saw the number 87, and my first thought was, oh my God, it's kind of unwritten rule, like 87. It's I don't know, it's Sid, and I'm a Canadian boy, and I respect the hell out of Sid. So it kind of messed with my brain for a little until I finally got the courage to make a call and to find out if someone's messing around with me or not. And I talked to the head trainer, and I mean, it was just, they got a lot going on at that point, and they were just pretty much handing out numbers. They didn't think twice about it. So it wasn't anybody messing with me, but I think we actually played Pittsburgh, or we just played Pittsburgh. And I was hoping if I got into that game that Sid would be in it too, and I could maybe go apologize to him and tell him it wasn't my decision. But if all goes well, I've been talking to the team, and we'll get a new number on me.
Yeah, you definitely need to get that switched. I mean, you can't be rocking that. Maybe in house league it's acceptable, but not at this level. You know
No.
better than anybody. But we want to send it back kind of like the OHL before we get into your long pro career here. So you played 4 years for the Kitchener Rangers, where you were the captain there. So you want to just quickly talk about your time there, and like you're obviously a dominant defenseman in the league. So
Yeah, I mean, back then I didn't really know much about the defensive side of the game. It was pretty much run and gun for me. And turning junior, I had a coach in Steve Spott. He's now with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who essentially just told me to go and go and go and go. And I'm not going to say he didn't teach me the defensive side of the game, but he mainly focused on developing my offense more. And we did that. I had a lot of great players that I played with there, and Jeff Skinner, Gabriel Landeskog, John Gibson, Tobias, the list goes on. We had unbelievable teams that, helped me get to where I am today. I had a great time in junior. I loved it. I wish I can go back and play a few more games because it was such a great experience for me in Kitchener. It's a top-notch organization. Anybody who's plays there knows how great it is, and I guess it was a stepping stone for me to get to the next level, I guess.
Sure.
I'm curious, like we'll get into the Henderson AHL stuff in a bit, but was Steve Spott, did he have any like sway in bringing you in there?
I like things so. I never really got to sit down and talk about it, but being an ex-Kitchener Ranger, I know I reached out to him after I signed there, and I have to imagine that he was a guy who helped me get there. I was coming off a couple KHL seasons, and I didn't know what my future was in North America. So at that point, I know my agent was in talks with obviously the Vegas organization and exchanged some texts with Spotter. So it ended up being an awesome experience to me. I got to live in Las Vegas. It was awesome. We had a great team. The Golden Knights were winning. It was just an all around. It was a good year.
Yeah. So we will catch up about that later on. But I want to bring it back as well. While we're on the topic of Kitchener, your NHL draft, and you went first round, 12th overall to the Carolina Hurricanes in 2011. So can you tell us about your NHL draft, like where it was, and really just the day and the moment you were picked, how it all went down?
Yeah, the more I look back at that moment, the more I wish I was older and more mature to really grasp how cool it was, because at that time I was, a cocky kid and I didn't really grasp how cool it was. And it was held in Minnesota, who I ended up playing for eventually. So that was pretty cool. And the day went by pretty quick. I don't know, an hour in, an hour and a half in, and you go through all the steps, you take the pictures, you meet everybody, and it's a little bit overwhelming. The tears from the family, the text messages, it was an unbelievable experience, and I had a lot of buddies who were there and got picked. So it was a good experience, and to have families around that I grew up with who were also at the draft, like I said, with my buddies, it was, I got lucky. It was a great time.
Now, something we always kind of ask people about, we asked them about the interview process with teams and if they had any funny questions, but I know maybe it was more of a trend earlier on, like before you were even drafted, but did you have any unique questions, like weird ones where GMs are trying to really get in your head or anything like that?
Yeah, I was kind of a wild card in my draft, so I met with, I want to say, every team. So I had a lot of interviews, and I believe it was the Islanders who I think everyone knows this question, whoever's been at the combine, and it was, if you were stranded on an island, would you rather a well-written poem or a gun? Something along those lines. I remember thinking in my head, like, what is the right answer? Like, and I think I said the poem. I was trying to be like an innocent little kid. And looking back, I wish I said the gun, because that would be much more useful on an island. But it was, there were some bizarre questions. I don't remember them off the top of my head right now. One thing I do remember is my agent said, if they ask you if you have questions, you always ask a question. So I met with the Colorado Avalanche, and they were picking 11th. So it was kind of right in my wheelhouse. And they asked me at the end, do you have any questions? And I believe during that interview, they told me, like, hey, look, we're not taking you. We just wanted to meet you. We have Tyson Barrie coming up, and we just don't need what you offer. And I remember panicking and thinking, what should I ask these guys? And that season, they started off hot, and they were at the top, I think, or near to the top. And I said, what happened this year? Like, I didn't know what else to say. And I asked, what happened to you guys this year? And they all laughed and were kind of shocked that I'm asking them why they blow last season. But
that's hilarious, man. That's actually jokes. Cause like, yeah, when you're in those kind of interviews, you kind of panic on the spot too. So the fact that you just kind of give it to them too. Well, especially once they said we're not taking you might as well give them a jab, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We want to talk about you getting the call in your first NHL games. It ended up being you got your first few in your fourth season in the OHL. So like, how did you find out the news and like find out you were going to play? And then tell us about your first game a little bit.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy for me. We had a game in Sault Ste. Marie and we were about to get on the bus and I got pulled aside by a spotter. The spotter goes, "Hey, you're not playing tonight." And I'm like, oh my God, like, what did I do? Did I do something wrong yesterday at school or whatever? Like, I'm thinking like I did something wrong. And he goes, "You're actually flying out today and you're playing the Jets tonight in Carolina." And I was just like, what? Like, like I'm in junior and there's an emergency call up and those things don't come around that often. You have 20 defensemen in your organization that need to go down before they can, start dipping into their junior guys. So I got on the plane, got to Carolina. I forget what time and all that. I forget even if I got in the night before. I'm pretty sure it was the day of. And started that game, and I haven't played that many minutes in an NHL game since my first one. I think I played 25 minutes. I was -1, and we lost 2-1, 3-1. We lost the game, but it was amazing. First shift, puck gets dumped in, you're going back, and I have to break out the puck again. My first game in the NHL, and I just remember clearly thinking, "Don't mess this up," and did a standard D to D out of the zone, and it was a cool moment. It was cool.
Yeah, that's insane. And then you said like going into the draft and everything, maybe a little bit of a cocky kid and stuff, and you didn't really understand. So like, how were your nerves? Were you just like, yeah, no, like I'm a sick player, like I'm gonna make plays out here? Like, how was it for you?
It was. I wish I was able to play my junior style of game that game, but at that point, it was just so many people were knocking me on my defensive side. Is he too small? Is he going to be a liability? And I just, I started focusing way too much on making mistakes and making people happy. And I wish I would have contributed a bit more offensively, to be honest, but I played a solid defensive game. But if I could go back, I would, play that running gun style that I like to play.
Yeah. So for every listener out there, what Murph's saying, just gas defense. Just wheel.
Yeah,
just wheel.
Essentially.
No, but that season as well, you played for Canada at the World Juniors. And obviously that's an honor and every kid's dream growing up. So how about for you? Just like finding out you made the team and then that tournament, and where was it that year?
That year it was in Ufa, Russia. So I was actually cut 2 previous times before that. I was on the verge of, setting a record for most times cut. That's held by Dan Cleary here in Detroit. So I was nervous. I mean, I don't want to hold that record of being cut 3 times. I was pretty happy that I made it got to the camp when I was 18, my second year, and that was a huge accomplishment. The following year, I had some concussion problems and ended up getting cut. And then my third year, thankfully, Steve Spott was he was the coach, and I mean, I didn't really have any doubts that I was making that team. I was, like I said, pretty cocky, and I will tell you one thing. I remember at Christmas time, we had like what do you call it, Secret Santa, and my gift was a shoe in, like one of those things to help your shoe get in, and it was because Spotter was the coach, and everyone called me a shoe in because of that. So it was cool getting the. I mean, how did they do it? How did you make the team? I know they did the calls to cut people, and essentially when the calls stop, phone stops ringing, you make the team, and someone comes to the door and tells you and hands you. I think we got like a leather jacket and a bag and a bunch of gitch. So it was cool, but once again, very young and too young to grasp how cool that really was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's super fascinating. Just a cool experience. The shoe, and I love that too. But
Yeah.
Just quickly, I want to touch on Carolina before we keep going. Just tell us about, playing in that organization up and down in the AHL and the NHL, and how that experience really, the beginning of your pro career, kind of how it went for you.
It was, I kind of did things backwards. I made the NHL at a young age. I mean, played 40 games before I started getting a taste of the minors. And at that time, it was Kirk Muller was the coach. So he was the second coach I had in Carolina. The first one was Paul Maurice. I made it as an 18-year-old, and he held me around for, I think, about a month after camp. And I remember he calls me in and he was sending me back to junior. And he says, Murph, I had no intention of keeping you around. You had such a good camp, and I wanted to reward you. And he handed me my first 2 checks. It was a signing bonus and my whatever the pay was. So that was a cool moment. So that was my first coach, Paul Maurice. Didn't really get any action with him in regular season games, but he was a guy that stuck out to me as just, a good guy. And then my first year we had Kirk Muller, legendary hockey player, and he pretty much told me to go, and focus on the offense, and it was working. It was working, but at the NHL, the defense is important. I mean, you can't just get by with watching stuff go around you and not playing the game. So ultimately that ended up with me heading down to the minors, and I don't know. Back then I didn't know how to handle it. I thought, oh my God, I'm done. Like, my career's done. I'm playing in the AHL. Like, I didn't know how things worked. So went down, and I believe I did pretty well. I think I was around a point a game my first year in the minors. And the next year we had a new coach. We had Bill Peters, different style of coach, X's and O's, hardworking, play the right way. And that didn't work out for me. It was a struggle for the next, couple of years. It was in and out of lineups, up and down, video after video, meeting after meeting. And it took its toll. You lose confidence. I don't know, you start drinking more, you go out because you're like, oh my God, where's my life going? And you think you're done. And it was tough on me because I lost a lot of confidence from, I told you I was a cocky kid, and that was now gone. And, I played a good amount of games with them. I wasn't able to show, I don't think, what I really had. I wish I can go back and play and start over again and, play the way I know how to play now and with all the experience I have. But Carolina was a great organization. It was underrated. Raleigh's a great city. Roddy Brendamore, who's the coach now, like, I would run through a wall for him. He was an unbelievable guy and an unbelievable coach. So I can't, it's nothing bad I can say about the organization. They were top notch. So I really appreciated my time there.
And then, you get traded to the Calgary Flames and then waived after that. Can you just tell us about that situation and what you went through? It sounds like, your first couple of years were a bit of a mental grind, lessons learned, and then that couldn't have helped any. So can you just talk about that?
Yeah, that was a very strange moment. I remember I was out downtown at a restaurant with a few buddies, and Ron Francis calls me and says, Murph, we just traded to Calgary Flames. And Calgary was a team who, like, my agent was telling me, like, there was some interest and they could use me. And going back to the draft, they'll pick, and they really wanted me. So here I am, hearing I'm being traded there with Eddie Lack, another guy on my team, good guy. And I tell my buddies, like, I'm going to Calgary. So we head to the club. I remember, like, signs were coming out saying Flames and stuff like that. And it was a cool moment. And then I remember around midnight, my agent calls me and goes, hey, I think something's going down. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I just got traded here. Like this. He goes, I think you're being bought out or traded. And sure enough, next day I was bought out from there. And it was still, to this day, I don't really understand it. Could have been something like Carolina didn't want to waste money buying someone out. So Calgary had to take on my deal. It was not even a big deal. I think I was making $850 that year. So it was bizarre to me. And I was pretty excited to hopefully put on the Flames jersey, but everything happens for a reason. Ended up in Minnesota, which was a good time. So till this day, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I never got a chance in Calgary. And I guess I'll never find out.
Wow. That's just like, I feel, Cards, I want you to, I don't know how to put this into words. Cards has been drafted by the San Jose Sharks, and, you think when you're young, you're in the OHL, like, it's kind of all going to go his way. Like, hopefully he plays for the Sharks one day and all that. And you don't think, like, oh, you could get traded, Cards, you could get bought out. Like, how do you, as someone who's been through it and giving advice directly to Cards here, like how do you manage mentally and like keep yourself positive, knowing like and you can move forward because you never know what's going to happen?
I mean, what really helped was knowing that I was getting my 2/3 of my contract. I mean, I had a check for the next 2 years of my stuff from the Calgary Flames, an organization that never gave me a chance, and they were paying me. So I'm like, all right, not that big of a deal, but it, it's tough. Like I said, I was excited. I thought this was a team who wanted me and needed me because I mean, as a hockey player, you that's what you want. You want a team. You don't want to be a disposable hockey player, and that's what I've been trying to figure out. I don't want to be replaceable. I want to be a player that means something to the organization, and for that to happen, for me to be bought out before as a fourth year player, a first round pick, and all that means like, where am I going wrong that a team wouldn't even give me the chance? So it was tough. I knew it wasn't the end for me. I mean, the next day was free agency or whatever, and I had some calls coming in. So I knew it wasn't the end, but it was I was on a one-way, so it was confusing. I mean, you don't really hear about too many contracts like 800 being bought out because that's not, in the grand scheme of things, that's not that much. That's not going to kill a salary cap, So I don't know how I handled it, to be honest. I signed a deal with Minnie and I kind of put it to the back of my mind. And like I said, I opened my stall every 2 weeks and saw a check from Calgary. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I won that battle, and you move on. But it's definitely a possibility for trades, and just, it's a business, and a lot of things are out of your control, and you just got to remember it's not personal. It's a business. So life goes on.
Yeah.
That's
Interesting,
actually
man.
nuts.
It is. And then, so yeah, you already mentioned it, signed with the Minnesota Wild. So tell us about being a free agent. I think you signed like the first day or something, right? So, I mean, but how did it go being a free agent?
I don't know if I should have waited or not a bit longer. It was kind of one of the first calls that came in was Minnie. They came in with a very high AHL salary and a decent NHL salary. And at that point, I'm like, how can I turn down, if I think it was 450? How can I turn that down? I'm 21, 22 years old. So I hopped on that. And, I had an unbelievable camp till this day. I think I had an unbelievable camp. I wasn't able to pitch in too much offensively, but I was solid. I was breaking out pucks, making creative plays, setting up guys. And I thought I was making the team. And in my exit meeting, when I got sent down, it was more like, another guy had a couple more points than you. And it was, I was rattled. I deserved to be there, and I know I deserve to be there. So I put my head down and went down to the minors and played in Iowa, which was undercover, a great city. And we had a great team, unbelievable guys. And eventually I got my chance. I think Spurgeon went down. So I got called up, and essentially when a big guy like that goes down, they're calling up guys, and they're going to see who can, step up and handle those minutes. So I got called up, and I was placed in the top 4 playing with Jonas Brodin, and I played about 20 games with him, 22, 23 minutes a night, just rock solid hockey. And Spurgeon, sorry, it's Dumba who got injured first. And then I go back down to the minors, and then Dumba goes down. So I go back up, playing the same roles, top 4, second power play, playing great hockey. And then we made playoffs, going into the playoffs there. Spurgeon gets back. I'm out of the lineup, even though, God, I deserve to be in the lineup at that point. I should have been in the third pairing or something like that, but it didn't work out that way. I waited till game 5, got into game 5. We were losing 3-1 in the series to Winnipeg, and Winnipeg, they seemed like they had the upper hand on us. So I got in game 5, played about 18 minutes, played solid. We lost. That was the end of that season. And going into that summer, I'm like, okay, I set myself up nicely. I played, 40 games or 30, whatever it was, I forget. And I played solid hockey, averaged probably over 20 minutes a night. Defensively, I was very reliable. Offensively, I was chipping in, and I thought I put myself in a good position. And I ended up taking a pay cut. I ended up taking a minor league pay cut, and I don't know if the NHL money got cut or if I was on a minimum, but I was a little rattled because here I am. I thought I solidified myself, and they were looking for something else. They were looking for something better. And that was a huge ego punch, I guess. So I go down to the minors, and this is pretty crazy. About, I don't know, 20 games in, I block a shot at the end of a game, and my hand, I couldn't grip my stick. So I get off the ice, and we had Thanksgiving or what do you call it? New Year's party that night. So I didn't say anything to Docs. I just went to the New Year's party because I want to get out of there. And at the New Year's party, coach calls me and goes, "Hey, like, you're getting called up. You're flying to Toronto and playing." And I'm like, "Toronto?" I'm like, God, like my hand's busted. Like I'm not saying this. I'm just thinking this. I'm like, do I suck this up and go? So I sucked it up. I'm like, I'm not turning down a chance to play in Toronto again, like for whatever, a hand injury. And I just remember like all day I'm like icing it. I'm trying to like figure out my hand because I'm like, I can't even hold a stick. And I'm not telling anyone. I kept my mouth shut. So I ended up playing the game, just worried about my hand all game. Like couldn't poke pucks, couldn't shoot, not telling anybody. Played not great. I blended in. I didn't do anything special. And I think I stayed around for a couple more days and then got sent down. And I'm like, wow, like I should have probably been honest about that and, not played that game because I could have just, screwed myself over. And then a couple months later, a chance came for me to be traded. And I heard I was going to the San Jose Sharks with Steve Spott and Peter DeBoer, my Kitchener boys. My agent said, that's the trade. And essentially all I had to do was say to my agent, let's do it. So I was on a trip in Santa Monica. We were on a break with my now fiance. And I'm lying there. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Like, this could be good. San Jose, Steve Spott. And I call my agent. I'm like, all right, let's do this. So he calls the team. An hour later, I get a call. Murph, we just traded New Jersey and Binghamton. And I was like, wow, that I didn't see that coming. I thought San Jose put in the trade. Like I was told San Jose was getting me, and at that point you can't do anything about it. You asked for out, and they traded you, and went to Jersey. And I didn't spend too much time in Jersey. I was in Binghamton, and it was a terrible hockey team. I mean, we weren't good. I think we lost like maybe 15 games when I got there, like right out of the gate. We were flooded with injuries, and it was a dark time in my career. And I did get called up. I played one game for Jersey. I had a beautiful game-winning assist against my former team, Carolina. It's a backhand, cross ice, power play apple. And I was like, oh my God. All right, I just earned myself another game. The next day, we were going to get on a plane, and I forget who told me. And he goes, we got to send you down. It's something to do with contracts. We just picked up Kenny Agostino or someone like that. And we have no room, and we're going to get you back up. Went back down to Binghamton and never got called back up. And that was a scary time for me because I thought my hockey career was coming to an end, and phone wasn't ringing that summer. And that's when I ended up in Nizhnekomsk in Russia. So,
well, you know what the best part about this whole interview is, Rask?
What?
The fact we don't even have to ask the question. Murph's just taking it here. And he just set us up for we were just about to start talking about the KHL too. So why don't we get right into that? I mean, you do go to the KHL. How was your first experience in the KHL?
It was I've been asked this over and over. How was it? And people are like, expect the scary stories and stuff like that. And I got them. I got some bizarre ones and some funny ones. And I remember I was told that this team is going to be a playoff coming, and I don't even know how to say, it was not in the nicest city as far as we are used to in North America. It was just, it's a different way of living. No, it's not worse. It's not better. It's just different. And I don't like to speak poorly about it, but I mean, we had a McDonald's and we had a Burger King and we had one Italian restaurant that I got food poisoning from twice, but I had to keep going back. It wasn't the nicest place in the world where I was playing, but the people were nice there. And my first day, get off the plane at like 2 a.m., get picked up by a driver, like not a lick of English. I gave him an address to my buddy, Zach Mitchell, who was on the team, and he was already there, set up an apartment. And they're like, you can go to the Baza or you can go to your buddy's apartment until you figure it out. I'm like, what's the Baza? And they're like, it's like a military base essentially where everyone lives. I'm like, I'm not living like under the roof with the coaches and everyone. Like I'm 26 years old. I can be on my own. So get in at 2 a.m., can't sleep, like jet lag, probably slept 30 minutes, go to the rink the next day. And we ran 18 laps of a track, like 18 laps. And I was just like, God, like, what about easing me into this? And it was just, they don't really believe in rest, which is, they're in freakish shape over there. Everyone's in great shape. And it was a tough. I got there late in camp strategically. You want to miss the first month of camps because they're tough. They're 2-a-days, 2 workouts, 2 skates mixed in whatever. Like it was a lot, and it was a crazy year. And I remember having an interview when I got there, and the guy goes, "So, how do you feel about the team expected to win 5 games this year?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "What?" Like, I was told this is a playoff contending team. Like, and at that point I was like almost panic mode, almost like get me out of here. And I had a bunch of those panic mode times when I would be like, okay, I need to get out of here. But I toughed it out, and it was an experience.
Yeah, that's actually insane. And then you obviously get I know you said it wasn't like great. So what'd you end up doing? Like, where'd you end up living? Did you get a place on your own or just live with your buddy all year?
I did get a place in that same building. It was considered the nicest building in the town, and it was great. It was actually really nice. So I sign a lease, move into a place, was there for a couple of weeks. And then I get a message from the landlord saying, "Hey, we just sold your apartment. You got to move out tomorrow." I'm like, oh. So then I was like panic mode, like, where am I living? There's no apartments in this place. And eventually one turned up, and the guy just hosed me because he knew like I was panicking and I needed a place. And I mean, hosing me in Russia is like not like when you live in Toronto and you're paying $4,000 or $3,000. I think I was paying $800 for like a penthouse apartment, and it wasn't. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money to be living where I was. And it was great. It was probably, I don't know, 1,800 square feet. I had it all to myself. It was a lot more modern than my previous apartment. We had a driver who came and picked us up every day, drove us around to the rink, and where I lived, it was good.
Yeah, that seems pretty legit. I mean, it's not bad that you can find a place rather than at the military base. But I mean, like, we talk, like, a lot of times, like, KHL gets thrown around, like people say like AHL, KHL, comparing it, SHL, stuff like that. So you've played in both the AHL, the NHL, and the KHL. Where does it rank there for you compared to the AHL?
That's tough. I mean, it's such, in the KHL, there's probably 6 good teams. There's 6 top teams with big budgets, bringing big players, and are treated like NHL guys. And after those 6 teams, it's a dramatic drop. So in my head, I like to say the top 6 teams, they'd be a top AHL team and maybe NHL contending, like they can win some games in the NHL. But you get lower down the list of the teams, like where my team was, and that's when you say, like, yeah, the AHL is better than this, the NHL is better than this. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in between that was not fun, like like a bunch of stuff. I'm sure everyone's heard stories and Russian gas and stuff like that. But the hockey itself was phenomenal. It was competitive, skilled, fast. These guys are strong. There were some guys I'd be like, "Hey, dude, like, are you not going to go to the NHL?" And they'll be like, "No, KHL." I'm like, all right, well, they grew up, the KHL's their NHL, you can't, it's just how it is. And it was great hockey. There was some, like, Pavel Datsyuk was running around, he still got it over there. There was a bunch of good hockey players. And that's one thing that helped me, was the competitiveness in the games and how high the level was. And it led me into coming back to the AHL and having a great season. And hockey was great. Good hockey.
Yeah, and you just mentioned you do come back to North America. But before that, you started the season on loan, right? In the KHL again, correct? Yeah. So you did that. You signed with the Henderson Silver Knights. So obviously we talked about that a little bit before, but just quickly, before we talk about that AHL season, which was an unbelievable one for you, can you talk about where were you at Dynamo Minsk? if that's how
Yeah,
you said it.
Animal Mints. So my goal was to just be in the top shape, be game ready, and it was my last kick at the can in Henderson. If I didn't have a good year, I would be in Russia for the remainder of my hockey career, and that's I want to play in front of my friends. I want to play in front of my family. I want to play in the league that I grew up idolizing in the NHL. So I was like, how can I get ahead before camp? And everything was kept being pushed because of COVID and the pandemic. And I reached out to my agent. I'm like, hey, I want to go get ready for the season. And that's kind of uncharacteristic for me because, my whole career, I thought I was just better. Because when I was younger, I thought I didn't have to do the extra. I thought I was just better than people at hockey. And this year, that summer, I was like, I need to bear down here. So I went to Minsk, and right away I got just sick as a dog. I mean, I couldn't taste, I couldn't smell. So I call the team doc. I'm like, hey, like I have COVID. Like this can't be anything else. So I go get tested, and it was a game day, and he comes in, he goes, hey, look, you have antibodies, no COVID. I'm like, I've never had COVID. Like, how do I have antibodies? So anyways, that ended up being not COVID. Playing that night, sick as a dog, and just remembering, just get through it. Cause like your first game of the year, it's always, you got slow legs, you got to get into it. So I was pretty much there to help this team in the time I was there. And I wasn't playing first power play. I was playing second power play, and not much because we had an unbelievable first unit. So I was playing really good hockey 5-on-5. And in the KHL, it is tough to produce. It is tough to put up numbers there because there's a lot of different rules. You've got to be direct passes for assists and stuff. So I did well. I think I was 8-12, which is a decent stat line. And I remember texting my fiance, texting my agent. I'm like, this is going to be a good year. I feel so good about my game. So I got to Las Vegas. I was going to participate in, there's a bunch of other stuff actually in Minsk that was going on. There was a bunch of political stuff. I shouldn't get into that, but it was scary. There was riots every week. There was just unmarked cars, and it was bizarre. We were locked in our apartments on Sundays. Cellular service was turned off in the country, and we couldn't leave. It was scary. And then ended up, the president wanted us to sign and back him up, and meanwhile the public didn't like him and wanted him out. And it was a tricky situation because I'm a North American guy there to play hockey. I'm not getting involved in politics. And that's how all of our imports felt. We're like, we're here to play hockey, but at the same time, this president and the government is paying our salary. So it was a tricky spot. So I essentially was like, I need to get out of here. And fortunately, Vegas at that point called and wanted me to come to camp. And I was on an AHL deal, so I wasn't expecting that. I got to Las Vegas, and I had to quarantine for 14 days. So that brought me into a few days into camp. And then I finally got out of quarantine and had my medicals, and I had some blood drawn, and I had some troponin levels high, which is, they say, post-COVID and whatever. So I missed pretty much all of that camp, which I was very disappointed because this was my year, to show them. And I got in for one skate at the end of camp. My first skate was an NHL versus AHL game. So I was bed rest for 16 days in a hotel. And my first day I had this game. So of course I was just, sluggish, bad, terrible. So just did bad. And right after got sent down, like I fully expecting. I was on an AHL deal, and it was like, I don't know if you guys have been to Vegas. You got the Strip, you got the flashing lights, you got the glam, and the coolest thing I found about that city was everything but the Strip. It was like, I lived in Summerlin, which was, unbelievable. It was 15 minutes from the Strip, great restaurants. Every day at the apartment building, it was like a full party with young people partying, and it was cool. It was cool. But we had a great team there. We had great coaches. I was very lucky because I now know how I get the best out of myself is when I'm comfortable around people and coaches, and I'm able to be myself and just, be yourself and play the game that you know how to play. And I had coaches who essentially let me do that. The minute I got there, there was no mind games. There was no, let's put this guy on the third D pairing and see how he reacts. Let's watch him in the gym. It was straight respect. These coaches treated me with a lot of respect. I'm an 8th-year pro. They slapped a letter on my jersey. They communicated. They were like more friends than coaches, but at the same time teaching me like how to play and helping me with my strengths. So they played the heck out of me. It was a crazy season in the sense that with testing and protocols, and we had a bunch of first rounders around the league just buzzing around, and it was a fun year. I had a great power play. I mean, I 4 unbelievable hockey players that I could pass to every night in that power play pretty much stuck together the entire season. And everyone now everyone had great seasons and are they have good contracts, and their careers are and going in the right direction, all because of one great season in Henderson, having great coaches, great staff. It was amazing for me. I mean, it was a good time.
I'll say it because you can't really pump your own tires, but AHL Defenseman of the Year. So that's pretty good. And that earned you a new contract, an NHL deal with the Detroit Red Wings. So can you tell us about how this offseason went for you, another time being a free agent, and why you ended up in Detroit, and even if you could have went anywhere else, like how that free agency went?
Yeah. I mean, my whole life I wanted to win a D-Man of the Year award. In the OHL, I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. One year I had my most legitimate chance in the junior was my second year. And I mean, I think I was leading the league in points at Christmas, and going into World Junior break, we're playing Windsor Spitfires, and Ryan Ellis was 6 points behind me going into the break. And I going to World Junior tryouts, that sets me up pretty good. And Ryan had, I think, 7 points against us that game and won 1 point ahead of me. And the rest is history. He ended up with 102 points. I ended up with 80, and he won D-Man of the Year. And ever since then, I just, I wanted that reassurance that I was a good defenseman. And last year, that wasn't where my mind was at the beginning of the year. My mind was at being a good person, being a good leader, helping these young guys out, because God knows I've made my mistakes, and I don't want them to make the same mistakes. These guys are young and skilled, and I don't we implemented in our dressing room, just there's no young guys, there's no rookies, I can go out for dinner with an 18-year-old or a 30-year-old. There was nothing like that in our dressing room last year, and that's how we got the most out of each other, was being a good group and getting to the end of the year. I mean, I stat wise, I was leading in defense points. I was leading in power play assists and shots on net. And it was shaping up to be a good year. I didn't the award, to be honest, because the AHL is a development league, and they usually hand those to young guys who have good seasons and stuff like that. So I found out I was on the golf course, and I didn't know my coaches were coaching or golfing in front of us. And coaches come up to me and just say, "Hey, Murph, you won D-Man of the Year." And I think I shot 100 that day. I didn't shoot good, but it was a pretty cool moment. And I was an all-star, and it was the season that I needed to have to stay in North America, to have one last kick at the can. And come free agency in the summer, I didn't really speak to Detroit. There was Vancouver. There's other teams like that I thought were better, or had a better possibility of going there. And first call that was made was Detroit with some interest. And I mean, how do I say no to that? It's 4 hours away from home. For the first time, I can go home on a day off. I can enjoy Christmas. My fiance, she has a job. Her offices are based out of Michigan. So it made a lot of sense. And it's a young lineup. I saw myself, it was a power play struggle last year. And I saw myself maybe being a bright side, or a good player for them. And I'm hoping it works out. So far, everything's been great. There's chances to be had. I mean, there's opportunities, and once again, it's a mental grind. You gotta bear down, and gotta find a way to be comfortable around everyone, and get the most out of myself. And like I said, I was sidelined for the first half of camp, so that was just another dagger. I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but it doesn't really matter. I guess it was just had some heart issues with some post-COVID and just a lot of precautionary tests for weeks, and ended up being cleared of everything and joined camp about 3 days ago. And, I feel good. I missed 2 weeks. I was bed rested for 2 weeks, but I think my adrenaline and my excitement is allowing me to find my legs in these practices so far, and hopefully get into these next couple games and, show them what I got.
Yeah. So I guess that pretty much concludes like all the stuff we've gone through in the career. What a ride you've been on, Murph? So hopefully you found your home here in Detroit for a while. But we're going to get into the personality questions now. First, because you've been through it all now, like I want to know how your teammates would describe you, but like in junior and now as a 8 or whatever 9-year pro.
See, that's the thing. I mean, in junior, for sure, I was the jokester. I mean, yeah, for sure. Like I like making people laugh. I like easing the tension. When I was a captain, it was never anything serious in Kitchener. It was joking around before the games, and because that's how I am. The less I'm thinking about the game, the better I play. The less I'm thinking about my gaps and my systems, the better I'm playing. So I try to take my brain away from hockey until that puck drops. And, I've had meetings with coaches throughout my career saying, Murph, like, we get it. You can turn on the switch, but other players can't do that. So through this process of my career so far, I've learned the proper times to, have that loosey-goosey attitude and to bear down and be focused. And last year I wore the captain again last year for a majority or a little bit of the season, and I was voted the jokester, the most funny guy in the dressing room at the beginning, like right at the beginning of the year. I'm new to the team and I was still voted the funniest guy. So like characteristics like that is I don't want to lose those. But I've learned a lot in my career. I've learned how to be a professional. I've learned how to take care of my body. I've learned to be at meetings 10 minutes early, not right on time. Like, you come to the rink with bags in your eyes, that sends the wrong message right away. It's just little things that I've picked up in my career, and I wish I picked them up when I was 18, because if I did, I think I'd be in a different league right now. I think I'd be in a different place.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all good things. Like you got to keep those characteristics. And like we always because we have so many young listeners who listen to this, like you got to still have fun and everything and enjoy it. And there's a question probably here later on that you might mention that too. But if you had to survive for a month on a deserted island with 3 members of the organization, and I know you're new to it, so this might be hard, but who would they be? Anyone in Detroit?
Well, gotta go with my boy Robbie Fabry. I've known him for years now. He's we get along, same interests, same, great guy, funny guy. Then it's a toss up. There's a lot of guys that I've got to know pretty well already, and great dudes. And Dan Renouf, guy I work out with, got to go with him. Just another all around great person. I feel like he's a guy you can just carry on a conversation easily with. So Reno and Fabs would be my deserted island people probably.
And one more.
They don't need another guy. Eh? They'd make do, right? So, and this is the one I was kind of talking about that you might have given your advice, but what advice would you give to your younger self if you were looking back now? I know you kind of just touched on it, but
honestly, I would tell myself to just be more comfortable with who I am. Stop trying to impress and to make other people happy. Stop trying to change my game because someone tells you it needs to change. You stick to your guns. I wish I was confident enough to just play my game and to, at the same time, learning another aspect of the game. I didn't necessarily need to take away my offense when I was younger like I did. All I had to do was learn the defensive side. And I was focused so much on one side of the game that I forgot about what got me there in the first place. And I lost confidence. And, there's a lot of stuff that I would go back and change. And just, I wish I was older. And then we touched on it earlier. I did it backwards. I made the NHL when I was 18, 19, 20. I was there, and I was the first one of my buddies to be there. And it was cool. I'm coming back to Toronto in the summers with money and NHL experience, and it was so cool. And then after that, it was, I mean, I was giving up on, I feel like. And right now I'm at the point, I know who I am. I know what kind of hockey player I am. I've learned so much from the amount of coaches that I've had, the amount of hockey players I've played with. And I just wish I need closure, or I need another game right now. I need either closure in the NHL to just be able to sit back and be like, okay, I'm not good enough. Let's go to Russia. Or play in the NHL, play with the person I am today, play the player I am today, like how confident I am and just knowing who you are. And I think in the bottom of my heart, I think I will do well, and I will turn some heads. So that's where I'm at right now. And if I could speak to little Ryan, I'd tell him to, be more confident, be more cocky.
Yeah.
I love
that.
Now we'll flip it here to the hard hitting questions, and then we'll just finish with the fan questions. Almost done here. So these get interesting, but you're engaged now. So we want to know, what is the meaning of true love?
Oh my God. For me, it's, I like my alone time. I like being by myself. And when I found a girl who I could be with 24/7 and be myself around and like team up with and just someone who makes your life easier and no stress and no fighting. I mean, I don't remember the last fight me and my fiance have had. We click. And I mean, for me, that's love. Someone you can, hang around with every minute of every day and not get sick of each other, or being able to sit in silence and not, you know what I mean? Just be comfortable with that.
Wow. Let's go, Murph.
Wow.
All right. Where to go? Okay.
Actually, I got a question.
Yeah.
So how does she deal with all this video games? Like if you're always on the sticks.
See, I'm a lucky one. She has a full-time job, so she's pretty occupied from 9 to 5 every day, and I'm not that occupied from 9 to 5 every day. So that's when I sneak it in the summer. Now, when she comes this season, and the season's a different animal because I'm at the rink all day. I come back, and if I hop on the stick, she is not happy. But I'm starting to learn. I pick my spots, and she's been pretty good with it.
Yeah.
This is awesome. All right. This one, I don't know where you might want to take this one. I don't know, but is humanity heading in the right or wrong direction?
Oh man. That's a tough one. I mean, I try to stay in my lane and, do my thing and not focus on, I'm not the most educated guy in the world. But no, I don't think so. I mean, I do not think it's heading in the right direction right now.
I agree, actually. All right, last hard hitting one, then we go to the fans. But I don't know how you're gonna answer this one. What do you think existed before the universe was created?
I like to think a bunch of aliens zooming around. I mean, I'm a huge believer in aliens, so just a bunch of aliens.
Hey, Rask, where are you finding these questions? They're absolutely outrageous today.
Hey, you gotta get creative, man. We've been doing this segment a bit. Gotta keep them new. So I don't know. I can't reveal my sources, but we'll take it to some fan questions here. We'll get it later and we'll finish up. But here's one from a fan. Why do you hate your Starbucks pre-workout breakfast but keep buying it?
Wow, that is definitely from someone at the gym. I don't know. It got into a routine. I'm out in Uxbridge now. I love that town, and I go to the Starbucks every morning, and the ladies know me in there. I'll have a quick chat with Svetlana, who works behind the counter, who's from Ukraine, I believe. So we chat about some Russian stuff, and it's kind of just my routine. I go and I usually get an oatmeal and a coffee. And when the oatmeal was there, I would bury the oatmeal. I like the oatmeal, but ever since they got rid of the oatmeal about halfway through the summer, I would get a breakfast sandwich. And I'm kind of a stickler for, I've been calorie counting the last couple of years. And things are like 500 calories. So I'd go to the gym because I need food to work out. I need it. So I'll wait to the last minute. I'll take 1 or 2 bites. I'll throw it down and start warming up and hope that's enough. But yeah, it's just my routine. And who was that?
Sandbrook sent that one.
Yeah. Waste of money, I guess, but my routine.
That's hilarious. Who's the best chirper you've ever played with or against?
You must have been a good chirper in junior, though, eh?
I'm a hell of a chirper, and self-proclaimed, I'm a hell of a chirper. I get on the refs a lot. I chirp to the point when after games I'll go up to him and be like, "Okay, I'm sorry, dude. Like, heat of the moment, I'm sorry." I mean, Nate Prosser in Minnesota, heart and soul guy, locker room guy, 7th defenseman, came in when he could, and he always gave it to Drew Doughty. Him and Drew Doughty would go at it like you got a top of the food chain defenseman talking to, and I love Pross, but like he knows that he's not a Drew Doughty, and they would go at it. I remember one game he said something so, like, I forget what it was, but he got him so good. It was on a LA power play. Puck went down the ice, and Doughty was skating back for the puck, and Pross was on the bench yipping him, and Doughty was turned back the entire way down the ice, screaming at Prosser mid-game, about to break out the puck for a power play. So I'm gonna say Nate Prosser.
Wow.
What differences are there from your first year in the league until now?
Ooh, probably the way the dressing rooms are. I mean, my first year, which I've touched on earlier with not being comfortable and stuff, there was so many guys that I was intimidated of. Not intimidated, like scared, but like guys I watched on TV growing up. And there was a different way to act as a rookie back then. It was off the bus. It was off the bus last. It was getting your meals last. It was, it was the NHL, so there wasn't any hazing or anything like that, but it was little things that you just were expected to do. And I do find now that there's no young guys, there's no old guys, it's a team. So it's a little, when I went away from Russia and came back, I was a little shocked with how, younger guys were in the front of the lines, and that stuff doesn't bother me. These are my teammates and my friends, so it doesn't bother me, but that is definitely a part of the game that is trending in the right direction. I mean, there's no hierarchy anymore. It's a team, and rookie, veteran, like second year player, you're all equals, and it's a good change.
Yeah, for sure. And that's like coming to be in the OHL too. I mean, like, because back in the day, well, I mean, definitely when you played, you had the Schmelz and then the older guys, right? So that's kind of trending that way in the league too. So it's for the best for sure to make everyone more comfortable out there. But moving on, have you ever gotten a fight with a coach? Could be, I guess they're not talking physically. I hope. I mean, if you have, that's
verbally. You assaulted a coach.
I have had my fair share of verbal exchanges with coaches, I'd say. But you know what? At the end of the day, those verbal exchanges with coaches, they respect that. I mean, if you have an FU back and forth battle and with a coach, and you leave that room thinking like you said your piece and the coach said your piece, you can put whatever's bothering you two at peace. And yeah, I've had my battles. I think I've definitely met players who are way worse than me and more ballsy. I kind of try to stay respectful, to be honest. And I sometimes I wish I can just let loose, but I try to stay respectful, but there's been their bad. And then I've had my verbal exchange with some coaches. Oh yeah.
Yeah, probably for the best though. Keep your mouth shut most of the time, because at the end of the day,
Exactly.
they're running the show around there. First power play, see you later.
Exactly.
Do you like pineapple on your pizza?
I don't mind it. I mean, Hawaiian pizza is not my thing, but if I get it, I'm not taking the pineapple off, so I don't mind it.
Okay. And then the last one before we wrap things up here. Did you ever have a job before playing pro hockey? Maybe a summertime gig or anything like that?
Fellas, I dropped out. I don't even think I had my grade 12 before I was playing in the NHL. I never had another job. Let me think. Did I worked at I wouldn't even call it work. I don't think I got paid, but I did. Murphy Hockey School is called. It was a different Murphy family in my hometown. Another Ryan Murphy drafted Carolina. Hell of crazy how that works, but it's another Murphy family, and I worked at their camp for a summer or two, and that was about it. That was about it. I wish I had more experience. You learn some social skills, and I wish I did that. It was just time that I skipped, I guess.
Yeah, strictly hockey for Murph, but that's all right. Got you to the show now where you are today. So, but from us, that's kind of all we got. I mean, from me personally, just want to thank you for taking the time. I know you've been super busy getting back into camp, and just want to wish you all the best this year. And definitely going to be seeing you a lot on the television in Detroit this year for sure.
Thanks. Hey, where are you at? Are you in? Did you go to San Jose?
Yeah, I went to San Jose, so I went to main camp there, and then came back. I'm in Barrie for my 4th year here, so got to maybe take what you told me today about being cocky in the O and use it this year.
Cocky and respectful, though. You know.
Yeah, 100%.
Gangsters ride in silence.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Rask.
Murph, this was a really fun one, dude. Like, this was really good and insightful too. So I hope our listeners can take something out of this and learn. But I really appreciate your time. I think it was a bit long, but like longer than I told you. I mean, and but it was a good one. So I want to thank you a lot for coming on.
No, dude, I appreciate it. I mean, I love talking about my ride so far, and like I said, I love helping these younger guys who are going to make the same mistakes I did, but if I can help them avoid a couple of them, it will only better their careers, you know? So I appreciate you guys having me, and I'll probably log on right here.
I love it, Murph. Thank you. I want to thank Ryan Murphy for that. That was unreal. Like we kind of talked about before the interview, but it was just really cool hearing that road. Obviously we're hoping he can make the Detroit Red Wings this year and be a stud player for them. Like, just how can you not root for him after that? And also, what an answer to the true love question, eh, Card?
Oh yeah, he's figured it out. He's been through it now. He's engaged, so he knows the right answers to that. And hopefully, if his fiance is watching, he answered it correctly. So they're on good terms. But no, it was like you said, we touched on it before the interview, but like just for like all the young listeners that we do have, the listeners, like everyone's path is so different to make the NHL. And that's a guy who was like 1st round pick that you would have been like, hey, he's a shoe-in, as he mentioned, a shoe-in. Kind of funny bringing it back up, but no, like to make the NHL and just have an easy path with all his skill and stuff. And here he is years down the road, kind of making his return back to the NHL, and he's gonna do great things. So it's really exciting, and it just really shows, however your path goes, it's your path for a reason, and you just got to stay on it and trust the process.
Yeah, and it's more for you too, Cards, to learn from. Like, it might not go smoothly, and if you can put yourself in like Murph's shoes, he's thinking, oh, I wish I could tell my 15-year-old self this or whatever. You got to remember too, like what could this look like for the future, because obviously it never goes that smoothly really for anyone. There's going to be hiccups, and you just don't think about it. Like, everyone kind of thinks it's going to be this dream thing that happens, and you just get drafted and make the team, and you play 20 years and get your jersey retired. Like, you know what I mean? But
yeah, man,
like you could get bought out. You can get traded. You don't know. Like, it's interesting to hear that side of it.
Dude, I've already had a wonky enough career so far. Like ups and downs. Like, again, 2nd round pick signed right after the draft in the OHL, and then all of a sudden I'm in the OJ for a little bit. My 1st year, like, split, and then 2nd year, whatever, I have a great year, not playing too much, and then I'm traded. And then before you know it, I'm supposed to be an NHL draft pick. That doesn't happen. Go to Sweden and then get drafted. So it's been a wild ride already. So I'm interested to see. Hopefully, I can get some comfortable situations down the road where I can set myself up for a little while in the same area. But you know what? It's worth it, right? It's so much fun. And like Murph said, he has tons of fun stories and great memories from it. So you just have to enjoy your whole hockey career.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that kind of wraps up like the hockey portion of it. I mean, we can go into like the week in the NFL. It was a cool one where Tom Brady returned to New England and got the win. And I heard, because I know it's no secret, like him and Belichick aren't on the best terms. I think they even might have like hated each other. I don't know, but I heard they had like a long meeting, just the two of them, after like Belichick went into the locker room and had a private conversation for over 20 minutes. They were like in the room, and so I think maybe they had some deep talks after. So that's good. But I actually watched that game. I don't watch a lot of football, and it was pretty cool. Brady's just sick. Like, I don't know, he just didn't he like also passed the record, or like made the record for most passing yards ever.
Yeah, just past Drew Brees.
Yeah.
It's crazy to watch though. Like you would have thought Tampa Bay would have blown them out even more, but just like how much of a wizard Brady is, he just finds a way to win games. That's what he's done his whole career. I don't know, man. Like we said before, he's gonna play till 50. We said that on one of the other pods, and
Yeah, with 3
just
more
gonna keep
Super
winning. Like,
Bowls.
he just doesn't lose. I don't know. It's weird and it's crazy, but good for him. Yeah, that is pretty special, that record to be broken. How about them Cowboys, baby? Another win.
They're buzzing.
Oh, they are. They look real good in convincing fashion too. They dominated that second half of the game, and I was really happy about their performance there. And we must not forget our Bills, or your Bills, I should say.
You want to talk about convincing fashion? Look at that, 40-0 Bills win.
They haven't let up a point in 2 weeks.
Did they?
I'm pretty sure they shut out Miami the week before. No,
I'm pulling it up right now. No, well, they played Washington week 3, 43-21.
And then they shut out week 2 then.
Yeah, 35-0 week 2 against Miami. Okay. Yeah. So they're buzzing, man. And I was just saying to Cards too before we hopped on the podcast, like me living in Niagara Falls now, St. Catharines really where I spend all my time. We're right by Buffalo, and everyone here on the game day was rocking their Bills jerseys downtown. All the bars and patios were open, and it was crazy. Like, I'm gonna go and hang out for some more Bills games. I gotta get myself a jersey too, man. I might get a Josh Allen jersey.
Yeah, get a Josh Allen or like a Diggs jersey. Those are nasty.
Yeah.
What do you think in white or blue though?
I'd get the blue.
I think they're sick too, and they don't get dirty especially if you're at a Bills game at the tailgate. You never know.
Oh, yeah.
Jersey there.
Yeah, and I want to get a white Cardwell San Jose jersey, which I am going to do at some point. I'm going to throw it up maybe over I don't know, maybe over my Brock one here. This is the Brock homecoming game jersey, by the way, that I got up this week. Changed it up for the new setup, but the Brock Generals, it says for the YouTube viewers, and that's when Brock first, because they're the Badgers now, when they first got made like 50 years ago or whatever, it was the Generals. So I got a nice throwback homecoming jersey.
I noticed that. I like that jersey. Actually, cool designs, nice colors.
Yeah, it's kind of sick.
Compliment the room well. That a boy, Rask.
The good decorations here in the room. But I mean, other than that, what else? Well, how did my my backup team do this week?
The Packers?
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up on the app here. Oh, they won. Okay, sweet. Over Pittsburgh 27-17. So I'm happy again, another week in the NFL.
Yeah, the Packers are rolling, man. And Rask sent me the picture of his certificate of ownership the other day, so I was laughing. That was pretty funny. It's cool, man. I like how they do that like that. But that does it for us, eh?
Yeah, take it away, Cards.
I guess with that being said, got a opening night in the OHL coming tomorrow from when our listeners are listening on Wednesday. So if you're not doing anything or just hanging out, either come to the game in Barrie, Ontario, or tune in online. I'm sure me and my teammates would love the support. But from me and Rask, just wanted to wish you guys a splendid week as we enjoy the last little bit of good weather we have before.
You say that every week.
Yeah, but dude, honestly, like, you're cutting off my outro, but it says 20 across the board this week, so I'm fired up. You can't take that away from me, because I'm not going to be talking about that weather when it's minus 30 out here.
It's a good week to be at the Falls, man.
Yeah, just enjoy the Falls, go see Rask, do what you got to do. But yeah, just have an awesome week, and we'll catch you guys next week.